Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster and I thought I'd do a quick video for you today just talking about one of the ways I use to try and keep cool in the hot weather. Now at the time of recording this video we are going through a bit of a heat wave over here in the UK. It's been consistently kind of 29, 30, 31 degrees every day pretty much for the last 2 weeks. Now for some of you overseas that may not be anything unusual, but for over here it's certainly an extremely high temperature during the summertime, and as a result we're generally not that well prepared for it when we have this kind of really long consistent hot weather. Now I'm not going to go through the usual stuff, you know, everybody knows, stay hydrated, keep in the shade as much as possible. One thing I was reading an article about recently was that with your water intake, if it is a really hot day, especially if you're a little bit dehydrated, try to drink either cool or kind of sort of almost tepid water rather than really cold chilled water. Chilled water is fine if you sip at it, but if you kind of down a container of this sort of size worth of water that's been chilled, it can lead to sort of complications. You know, your body can essentially go into shock if your core body temperature is too high. So that was something I've read about recently. Anyway, so what do I want to talk about today? Well, you've seen this before, I think, in some of my other videos. This is my little buff kind of scarf, hat, bandana. It does a bit of everything. Now this is what I personally use, but there's no reason why this won't transfer over to something like a shemagh or a bandana, even a large handkerchief. And essentially what I do is I will take this and I will dampen it, and I use this kind of for bushcrafting as well as other things. Now what I want to do to start off with is just put it underneath my water bottle. You know, I don't want to waste water, especially if you're out in the field and you haven't got a good source of water. So like myself, I have to sort of carry in a good portion of the water I use when I'm out and about. So this I find is one of the best ways of not wasting too much water. There's a little bit coming by now, which means this is probably saturated. And just give it a little bit of a squeeze, and hopefully you can see this is now saturated. And again, if I'm out in the field, and I always keep these relatively clean. Sorry about the planes overhead, guys. And actually, you can drink the water straight out of this. And as I say, you know, as long as you've kept them clean. Now, there's a couple of ways I will use this, and I'll show you the ones I don't use that often first. So obviously, being slightly follically challenged, having very little hair is obviously a problem because you can very easily get sunstroke, and I'm going to show you what I do for that last. But first of all, you can put this round your neck. Now obviously this is designed to keep you warm in the winter, but it works just as well with once it's wet in the summer to keep you cool, and it just keeps that area around your neck nice and cool. Secondly, and actually taking this on and off in this heat is actually really nice, and what you can do, you can kind of bring this down like so, put it over your arm, give it a twist, and essentially you've made a sort of wristband. Now these are really nice if you're out for a long walk or something, if you're starting to get sweaty, you can just wipe your head. You know, this is all really simple stuff, but it's just something that might help people out if you haven't considered it before. I often have 2 of these, makes you look like a bit of an idiot, but to be honest, it keeps your wrists cool, and you can kind of wipe it pretty much anywhere over your face and your head to cool you down. Now the last thing I want to show you, and this is going to be a really short video, guys, this is just kind of what I tend to do. Now because this is only patterned on the one side, I will turn it inside out, and essentially I'll sort of lay it over the top of my head like so, and then you'll take the top piece, you can see that, and then I'll just stretch it over my head like this. Now you can cover your ears if you want. I tend not to bother unless I'm in really hot sunshine. And what you've got, if I just turn around a little bit, is you get this little flap at the back. Now this always reminds me of like one of those sort of French Foreign Legionnaires type hat, where this is coming down and it's protecting the back of my neck. So not only is it cooling down my neck because it's wet, it's also protecting me from the sun. My head's also protected, you know, in combination with something like a pair of sunglasses, which is what you'll normally see me wearing if I'm out and about in most kind of daylight. This works really well for me. Alternatively, and again, I won't do this particularly prettily, what you can do, and you can fold this much neater, but essentially you can also use it as a headband. So if you're unlike me and you have quite a lot of hair and you don't want to get that too wet, you can just have it round here. Again, it's nice and damp, it's keeping those areas of your forehead and a little bit around the back of your head nice and cool. So basically this is what I tend to use, and as I say, I've used the same sort of process, if you like, using a shemagh, and I've done it with a bandana. I haven't done it with a handkerchief, but again, if you've got a relatively large one, there's no reason why that wouldn't work as well. And likewise, you can always just keep it like this, and if you need to, just kind of wet your face with it. Now this is only passing relief. If you're wiping yourself with a damp cloth and actually sitting in this sunshine here, even though I'm in a little bit of shade, this feels really nice. But it will only last a few minutes before the water evaporates, and then you're back to sort of square one. So generally speaking, as I say, once I've wet this, I'll put it over like this, and this is pretty much my usual go-to. And I tell you what, I can pull it down. I mean, I don't think it looks great like this, so I think I'll leave it off. But you can also tuck this into the back of your shirt, and you've now got this sort of damp cloth making contact with both your head and your neck, and also down a little bit onto your back. And obviously, if it starts to dry out, you can take it off and do what I've just done, or if water's not so much of a problem, you can just re-dampen it. You'll get a little bit running down your face, you can wipe a bit on your neck and your arms and whatever, and you know, that will just help you to cool off. Now, what else did I want to say about this before I go? So again, a couple of things while I'm out in the field. I will almost always have a tarp with me whenever I go bushcrafting, and it might seem a little bit counterintuitive to put one up in really sunny conditions, but even when you're underneath the sort of the canopy in a forest, unless it's really dense, which it generally isn't here in the UK, you're always going to get sunlight coming through. Now, I have fallen foul of this a few times myself. What will happen is I'm sort of underneath the cover, I think I'm nice and covered, and I end up getting burnt because the sunshine is coming through. So you can always throw up a tarp or even a debris shelter or something like that. Depends what you want to do. Tarp is the simplest, quickest and easiest in my mind, and it just lets you get out of that sun for a little while. You know, you've still got plenty of air around you. You know, I wouldn't have it down as kind of like a tarp tent or something. I would just have it literally just above me as a bit of a cover. And obviously, as the sun moves around, you know, you can just move to different parts of it. You can tilt it slightly. As I say, keeping hydrated. Really good one for the hot weather. I mean, you know, I think that's common sense for everybody. I'm one of the type of people that I don't drink as much as I think I probably should, and the one thing I'm a big believer of is if I feel thirsty, I will always make sure I drink. Quite often I don't feel thirsty, and that's why I don't drink enough. But you know, thirst is your body's way of telling you that it requires some kind of water. So that was it for me, guys. I say mostly it was about this. This is my go-to summer kind of heat reduction method. Obviously making sure you're hydrated, and yeah, so I hope it was useful. Comments and questions in the box below. Hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I hope you'll all join me next time. Cheers, guys.